The cameraman, or woman, it was difficult to picture a girl behind the camera, swung the lens up to capture the boy's face, which, with a start, Mike Boardman recognized. He had assumed when Kasia had solemnly handed him the tape just an hour earlier, saying to him in an extremely somber tone, "I think you should take a look at this," that the tape was simply confiscated pornography. Not that the tape wasn't pornographic, something a dorm parent might have dealt with. The idea that there would be recognizable people attached to the action, students he had seen in hallways, in the cafeteria, and on the basketball court, did not really occur to him until he saw the face of the boy, contorted as it was in a paroxysm of pleasure, and therefore somewhat grotesque to the outside observer. He thought, Rob, and it can't be. The Rob he had known was a polite, hard-working student who also happened to be an outstanding forward on the basketball team. And was that how Mike had seen his students, he wondered then, even as he was observing the moment of coming on Rob's face, as excellent student, or promising actor, or pretentious brown-noser, or good arm? Because it was perfectly apparent that such descriptive tags were entirely inadequate. The Rob whom Mike had known seemed to be but an embryo of the full-fledged sexual being on the tape. There was a kind of seizure then in Mike's chest as he suddenly, from different parts of his brain, received alarming and unwanted bits of information, not unlike an air traffic controller watching several blips on his radar screen inexplicably about to collide. The girl hardly seemed to come up for air when she turned to the other standing boy, whose face had not been visible during the first pan, but which now clearly was, jolting the headmaster and causing him to cry out the name of the boy, Silas, and to emit a groan of his own, entirely unsexual. Silas and the girl lay down on the floor with Silas on top, and went at it in an old-fashioned, though frenetic way, the girl's body thudding lightly into what was clearly now a dormitory floor, dotted with a half-dozen beer cans. Mike closed his eyes, not wanting to watch this particular boy have his own paroxysmal seizure. When he opened them again, the camera was on the face of the girl, who was either experiencing the heights of pleasure or giving an excellent imitation of the same. It was then that he saw the girl was very young, very, very young. The number 14 floated through his brain, though he didn't at that time know her name. It was not unusual for the headmaster not to know all of the students by name, particularly the underclassmen who hadn't yet distinguished themselves, which Mike was pretty certain she had not. He suddenly wondered how many other persons, faculty or students, had watched this performance on the tape, this particular worry marking perhaps the worst moment of his life to date, though far worse was yet to come. Groping for the camera, he found and pressed the pause button. He was on his knees in his empty house, his breath tight, causing him to put his hand to his chest as if an angina attack might be coming. That any number of people might already have seen the tape was creating in Mike what felt like a temporary heart stoppage, but what was really a temporary brain stoppage. His neurons refusing to fire, or whatever they did, connect, because he couldn't process another thought, the last having been too awful to contemplate, with its attendant images segueing into the words police and rape and alcohol and press, none of which any headmaster wanted in any sequence in any sentence. It seemed important then to focus on the girl, to determine how willing a participant she had been in this thing that he was witnessing. Since he didn't have the heart to rewind and review what had gone before, he poked play, wishing he could slow down the action. Not so that he could enjoy it more, Lord, no, but so that his whole being could catch up to what was inevitably going to be a difficult future. To ease into it, so to speak. The tape started again with what felt like a snap, once more zooming in on the girl's face. Mike saw, to his dismay, that no matter how experienced she had seemed earlier, and also seemed now in her fairly convincing expression of ecstasy, she was in fact, as he had suspected, very young indeed. A freshman. There could be no doubt about it. He thought he could almost retrieve the face and body in a uniform. Field hockey? Soccer? JV? Thirds? And he was certain that she was a boarder, not a day student like Silas, who seemed to have collapsed upon the girl, who was smiling now, actually smiling. Is this good or bad? Mike wondered. There seemed to be a great deal of chaos. Perhaps the unseen hand had lowered the